So welcome. I am so pleased to be here with you today. I know we've got a wide range of time zones represented in our attendees as well as our panelists, and I'm just so unbelievably delighted to be hosting this inaugural alumni panel of DKU alumni, members of our class of 2022. So my name is Russell Davis. I'm the Director of International Student Enrollment at DKU. And really the stars of the show, I am joined by a great group of alumni, as I mentioned, who represent our inaugural class. Like yours, their last 4 years definitely had its interruptions. These alumni now, which feels a little weird to say, these alumni, they spent time on DKU's campus in China. They spent time on Duke University's campus in the US, and like you, most likely, they had to face the challenges of online learning. But as our first class at DKU, these students and now alumni took such a leap of faith and became the foundation of DKU's unique student community and culture, and really helped establish that. And they really are what I call true trailblazers. Now, in addition to, the knowledge and skills they developed inside and outside the classroom, and, certainly as a result of the academic experience, like you, they also developed some really invaluable skills such as resiliency and adaptability, which will serve them and you well in the future. Now, today, you're going to get to hear a little bit about their journey, including what they are doing now and what were some of the influences along the way. So to get things started, I'm going to invite my panelists, my alumni, to do introductions. And I'm going to just kind of go in how I see you guys on my screen in that order. And so, Jonathan, you are the first person who's popping up on my screen. So if you don't mind getting started.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Jonathan. As Russell mentioned, I was part of the class of 2022 at DKU, and now I'm currently a grad student at Duke, the Fuqua School of Business, getting my master's degree in management studies. I'm currently in Durham, North Carolina.
Awesome, thank you. And Uros, you're next on my screen.
Hi, everybody. My name is Uros Smokric. I was also part of inaugural class 2022 at DKU. Currently, I'm working for an independent researcher with different projects in International Labor Organization, WHO, and I'm in Belgrade, Serbia. Nice meeting you all.
Thank you. Francesco.
Hi, everyone. So this is Francesco. I'm also part of, I graduated 2022 DKU, and I'm currently M&A analyst at PwC in their Hong Kong office. So I'm based in Hong Kong, but right now I'm calling from Italy because I had to fly back yesterday. So I'm a little bit jet lagged, but happy to answer any question you may have.
Great, thank you. And Zarfashar?
Hi, everyone. I'm also class of 22. I majored in institutions and governance with a track in econ. Right now I'm in Lahore, Pakistan, and I am working in a fintech startup and also looking over my business in healthcare.
Thank you. And Honey.
Hi, everyone. My name is Honey. I'm also from Pakistan, but from Islamabad. I majored in media and arts with a track in creative practice when I was at DKU. And currently, I'm actually calling in from Beijing because I'm here at the Yenching Academy of Peking University pursuing a master's in China studies.
Wonderful. So just like you as attendees, that you represent many parts of the world, so do our panelists. We have the US, we have Serbia, Italy, we have Pakistan as well, too, actually from Pakistan, but who are in different places right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get with an easy yes/no question for the panelists. And basically, when you arrived on campus, did you already have an idea about what you thought your major was going to be? Again, Jonathan, I'm going to start with just you because you're first in my line.
No, I had no idea. I I started off as a global health major, and then switched it, I think like 2 times, and I ended up in political economics under the public policy track.
What do you think inspired that change, or what were kind of some of the things that occurred that made you kind of make those shifts?
Well, my first semester at DKU, I took a global health class and like I enjoyed it, but I really valued the discussions a bit more in my political economy classes that I took in later semesters. And instead of taking more global health classes, I chose to take more political economy classes, and it just led me to changing my major.
Great. Honey?
Like Jonathan, I came in thinking I'd do something else, but I just switched. So I applied as an econ major. I thought econ was my thing, but after taking 2 econ classes, I realized that was not my vibe. And I was really lucky that in my first semester, I got to meet a professor who later on became my academic advisor. And he does documentary work. And I was really inspired by what he does, and also the other professors who were in the same media art field, that I later realized that I really want to pursue my passion, which is documentary photography. And so that led me to finalize my majors, media and arts creative practice, in my second year.
Okay, great. Kudos.
Well, I came really passionate about biology, and I did IB bio, chem, psych, and everything. But I never tried economics. So one semester, I just wanted to try Econ 101. I tried it and I switched it completely. And next semester, I only did all Econ classes. So I graduated with political economy, focused on economics.
Okay, great. How about you, Francesco?
So yeah, I came in that I wanted to do econ, and then I came out that I graduated econ. So I think during my sophomore year, I thought for a second to switch to statistics, but then I found my way, because I like the quantitative part of the major. But then I found my way when I was able to take more like finance related classes at Duke. So in a way, I was happy because I found both world, and so yeah, I didn't really switch my major though.
Okay, all right. And Zarfashar?
When I came in, the only thing I knew that I wanted to do was the career track. Initially, I wanted to do major in math, but then I took this math 305 class, and then I was like, yeah, this is not for me. And then I was like, okay, I explored everything that there was on the table, and then I eventually decided, okay, what do I enjoy doing? And then that was econ. So that's how I chose my major.
So you guys are really a reflection of, a liberal arts and sciences environment. I also came out of a liberal arts environment and had no idea what I wanted to do when I got into college. And, it's pretty common for students who even think they know exactly what they want to do, they end up changing their mind. And there's a lot of different reasons and inspirations, and sometimes it might be a particular course you take, or maybe it's a faculty, and I think we heard a couple of these along the way. There's a lot of different things that can kind of make you change your mind. And really, students who come into a liberal arts and sciences environment, we encourage you to explore. Even if you think you know exactly what you want to do, you don't know what you don't know. And so taking classes in other areas, you do start to discover other interests, other passions. And it's also a process of elimination a little bit sometimes. And I think we heard that as well, where you think you're really into something, you take some classes, and then you decide it's not exactly what I really thought it was, or it's not exactly what I really wanted to do. So I think you guys all kind of reflected all those different things that are very, I think, common that happen in a liberal arts and sciences environment, where you have opportunities to explore different majors, explore interests, and explore passions. So the next question I have for all of you is, what were some of the resources, if you can give us some insight into some of the resources that you may have leveraged at DKU or at Duke, since you all spent time on both campuses, that helped you finalize what your post-graduation path. So what were some of the resources you leveraged? What were some of the things, the activities or organizations, things you were involved in that helped you finalize and maybe even facilitated in some way? And these can be departments or activities, people that you came into contact, members of the DKU community, any online resources. So again, going in the order, Honey, you are now on the far left of my screen. So I'm going to start with you, Honey.
I feel like there's a long list when it comes to resources.
That's okay.
But I think I'll speak for what I'm doing right now, like China studies, a master's in China studies. So in my second year, I applied to be a research assistant under Professor Lai Henderson. It was also the first, I think it was first year, the Freedom Lab under the Humanities Research Center was open. And so I applied to be a research assistant with that professor, mainly researching on Afro-Asian relations with a focus on African-American writers like Langston Hughes, W.E.B. Du Bois, and all of that. And so I realized that I'm really much interested in that, but maybe not on the literary track. And so I was introduced to jazz music and how that was introduced into Shanghai and kind of formed like an identity of Shanghai jazz. And so while I was doing that research, I realized how I'm quite passionate about the broader theme of transculturalism, and especially in China, because I have background, family roots originating from China. And so from there, I was like, okay, other than Shanghai jazz, what is something I can do more? And so for my signature work, my thesis, under the guidance of Professor Choi, I did a research on traditional Chinese medicine because my parents are traditional Chinese medicine doctors. I kind of wanted to integrate my background into academics. And so I guess like given the resources from not just the research centers, but also like the faculty that were there on campus, I very much did enjoy a lot of just reading and like interviewing people and just working on transculturalism. And other than that, outside of academics, I was involved with I think it's called the Kunshan Digital Humanities Archive, which was also an initiative under Humanities Research Center, where I got to do a really cool documentary project with two of my friends on the Yangcheng Wei Kiri crabs. And so I think just other like documentary projects I got to do around China and local culture got me really excited to continue research in China and kind of use this as an opportunity to connect with my roots. And so here I am in China doing more research on China studies.
That's great. Thank you, Honey. Jonathan, you are next in line on my screen. How about you?
Yeah, I think the greatest thing I took away from DKU is the relationships I formed with like faculty and students. If I look back and reflect on one that kind of led me to where I am today, it's definitely my relationship I have with an admissions officer. Actually, I used to work in the admissions office, and I formed a close relationship with Carlene. And when applying to grad school, I reached out to her to help me write my letter of rec. And we'd spent a lot of hours working on it, making sure we can best talk about myself and my skills and what I can bring to the university, as well as what I want to gain from the university. And I feel like it's hard to form that kind of special relationship with faculty and with staff at larger schools or at different universities maybe. But she sacrificed her Chinese New Year writing my letter of rec for me. And I'm really thankful for it. And that's how I got into business school.
That's great. Thank you, Jonathan. Udos.
I was about to say something similar to Jonathan's. I think that the biggest resource that you can get from any university is the people there that teach you just basic stuff. And I understood actually at DKU what I wanted to do. And I switched from biology thinking that I'm gonna major in molecular biology. But when I met Dr. Landry, he actually talked about development with such passion that I just wanted to do something in that field. And then with my internship and everything that I did outside of university, I realized that my calling is health economics. And then I met another professor that was teaching history of Chinese economic transition, Zhao Jing Zheng. And then I wrote my thesis with both of those professors on the topic of health financing and cardiovascular diseases, which was just so interesting. And I think that in any university that you go into, and especially DKU with such a small environment, you should use professors to guide not only your projects and essays, but to guide your passion into and achieving all the goals that you set for yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. Zarfishar.
I think I'll echo what people before me have said. It's definitely the people. And I think you can categorize them into two parts. Like one is the people that you get connected to through formal channels, like the established departments that DKU or Duke has. And the other one is the informal way. And I think what's special about DKU is how much informal connection you can make with a really, really wide variety of people. So it's very rare to come across a university where people are willing to go above and beyond for you, even if they're not directly vested in your success in any way. So, lunchtime was, it just, was like you would see someone, anyone, and you could just go sit next to them, learn about them, and be like, hey, can you connect me to someone in the business world? And then they would make that happen. So that's like my biggest, the most valuable resource that DKU gave me. They connected me to people in finance, in the government in China, in like really high up in the business and Y Combinator in the US, like all these communities. I think it's so rare to have such a concentration of such like brilliant and empathetic people in one place. So I think that's what's really, really special about DKU.
So I'm seeing a bit of a theme here, Francesco.
Yeah, I think everyone talked about relationship with faculty is so important. You'll see that if you start at DKU, you'll have a lot of research opportunities and you can build a lot of a relationship, and we have a lot of proofs here. But for me, I think there's also as many people, I mean, there's also a lot of people within the DKU and Duke community that will try to get you into the industry. And I'm definitely one of those guys. And I think from DKU side, the best resource I had, and one of the reasons why I'm actually doing my current job was in my freshman year. There was an extracurricular activity organized by Jiaotong University, and it was a finance competition where a lot of people from different universities just joined this competition, and we came in the same classroom, and then we're pitching different companies and ideas, mostly like tech company, because at the time was pretty hot theme. Now not anymore for obvious reasons, but so that was one of the coolest activities I did at DKU. And then because in my junior year I went to the US, because of COVID I moved to Duke, and the network opportunities that are there are absolutely helpful, and you can literally talk with everyone, as Zarfisha was mentioning before, and they will give you a lot of hints and advices on how to navigate the application process and where do you want to be. So they're really, really helpful and supportive of whatever you want to go. And so network and extracurricular activities were probably the two, most precious resources for me.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, boy, that was a theme for sure. It's the people, and we often talk about that as well. And when we're in the admissions processes, what makes DKU special? It's a close-knit community, but ultimately comes down to the people. We often get asked, why do the applications keep growing, and why do we keep attracting students? And I say it's because of our students. When they see how you engage with each other and they get a feel for the close-knit community, which extends, as you guys have all echoed, with the faculty and with the with people in the DKU community. I think it's what really, you guys and the relationships that you establish, I think that's really what makes DKU unique and such a distinctive culture. So you guys all said it really perfectly. I think a couple of you already mentioned this, but if you hadn't already, did any of you get involved in research? And I know we had our signature, you all had your signature work project, but if you haven't talked about your research already, or maybe a particular research project that you were really passionate about or enjoyed, and it doesn't have to be even connected to your major. So I'm going to put that out there. If any of you wants to just kind of jump in, unmute yourself and share some of the research that you did and kind of why you got involved in it.
I can
start
answer.
us off.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jonathan, you first, and then Francesco.
Yeah,
I'll go first. Okay. Yeah, so I wasn't part of like any major research project or anything, but I'll talk a little bit about my signature work. So I was on a team, so you have two options, either do an individual project or work with a team. And I decided to work with two Malaysians from our university. And the professor I worked with, I was never his student. I never took any of his classes, but one of my teammates did. And it was extremely helpful because part of the signature work requirement is to work on an internship or work in some kind of research outside of DKU that is related to your project. And he was able to connect us with a graduate professor at the National University of Singapore, who just immediately gave us the internship because of his relationship with my signature work advisor. And from there, we analyzed deforestation issues within Malaysia. And it was very much related to like environmental policy, environmental economics. And all three of us were political economy majors. Two of them were economics and I was public policy. So it wasn't exactly related to our major, but with the assistance of my signature work advisor, Professor Wang Gi, he definitely walked us through the steps of all the research processes and got us that connection. So it was extremely helpful.
And for those of you who are not familiar with the signature work project, I imagine many of you are, it is a required part of the DKU curriculum. It's a project that you start in your sophomore year and complete by your senior year. And it is a project that you get to pick the topic on. So thank you, Jonathan, for sharing a little bit insight into yours. Francesco, you had something you wanted to share?
Yeah, so I was sophomore and junior year, I was working as a student research scholar, which is a program that DKU offers that basically you can, there's a research your faculty is interested in exploring, and they're trying to gather different students to work on. And I've been working on a research that focuses on machine learning algorithm applied to finance. So basically what we did is we were trying to predict the prices of stocks using some sort of a machine learning algorithm. And so it was a very interesting team because we had a very diverse set of backgrounds. We have people from data science, we have people from econ like me, and we also have people from physics and mathematics all coming together and working on this very cool project that ended up being published on a very well-renowned journal. So it was a fantastic experience overall, and I'm so glad that I took part in it. And I'm sure you will also be able to do that if you're interested in a specific topic and you find a faculty that wants to explore that specific topic. So plenty of resources out there you can take advantage of.
So that was a real interdisciplinary approach to that project.
Yeah. So what we did, we used actually, because I know people like you are interested in computer science and computer tech. What we used was basically an algorithm used to predict the movement and the locations of supernovas, and we try to apply to the stock market. So it was a very interdisciplinary approach, I would say.
Very interesting. Zarfishar.
Yeah, so I wasn't a research kid at all. Anything I wanted to do, I just went out in the real world and did it. I just had a bunch of startups, but I was involved in the creation of a lot of research labs. And I think that's what really sets DKU apart. I don't think anywhere else in the world you can, as an undergraduate, just like become the director of a research lab. So if you were to go to certain faculty members who are very open to collaboration, you're like, hey, I really want to study, like, I don't know, something like how animated art can like affect political movements or something like that. They're gonna be like, okay, cool, you just go ahead and do that. And that's how two of my friends became directors of their own research lab. One was studying one had this lab called the knowledge lab, and she was just, it was all about, I don't know exactly what it was, but it was like knowledge and curation and information and all of that. And another one was really interested in art, and she became like the pioneer of this thing called Kunshan Digital Archive. So I think that's, although I wasn't involved in it directly, but I helped set up a lot of these committees and these labs, and now they're like fully functioning, like ongoing research projects, which have been there for many, many years.
Very cool. Nice legacy to leave there. Anybody else want to share anything related to research they did? I mean, one of the things I think our attendees are hearing and feeling tonight is just, our students want to get involved in things, and it's definitely something that we see in students who are attracted to DKU, is this desire to get engaged and really take advantage of the experience. People aren't going to be knocking on your door, but our students don't wait for that. They do take advantage of the opportunities. We are a smaller community and a close-knit community. So there's a lot of relationships to build, and there's a lot of opportunities. And our students like to create things and make things happen for themselves. So kind of related to the community, we do talk a lot about our unique student community, which you guys are all such a great reflection of, and that unique student culture at DKU. And at the core of the DKU experience, you guys have heard the term rooted globalism. It's how students learn from each other. So I'd love to hear if any of you want to share your thoughts on, how did your classmates contribute to your personal and your professional growth, and just your overall experience at DKU? How did your classmates contribute to your experience as you reflect on your 4 years with DKU? Honey, I'm going to start with you first, because you're on the left, and we haven't heard from you in a little bit. So.
Sure. I think I owe quite a lot to my classmates and the fellow classes that are like class of 2023, 24 and all, because I feel like every individual I've talked to has taught me a lot of things, especially like because I feel like because it's so interdisciplinary here at DKU, there's so much that different people know about. And I think it's just really interesting to engage with conversation with them because, I'm not too familiar with things outside of media and arts, but I get so excited to talk to people outside of that because, they really tell me different things. And I think it's quite helpful because right now I'm here at grad school and, someone might say something and I know something about it because, a classmate from DKU has told me about it, which I think is really cool because at that moment, you would not realize how valuable your classmates' like discussions or topics would be till later when you're like in like other environments and situations. But also I feel like because the DK community is so small, you get the feeling of a very close-knit community. And I think that's really valuable because you have a lot of chances where it's very easy to feel like home because you have people that help build that feeling. And it doesn't have to be feeling of home just because you're in from the same country or from that same city, but even people from different countries have been able to make me so comfortable on campus. And even when we were on Zoom, like spread out across continents, I did not feel I was left out just because we really were there to support each other through difficult times.
Thank you very much. Udos, how about you?
Oh, I think that the DKU community is the best part about DKU. And I can just understand how much it meant to me now when I'm away from everyone. And of course, you got to understand that it's all international people. And once you graduate, you're going to just talk through Zoom or in this kind of circumstances. And you're just going to be spread out everywhere. You're going to be thinking about time zones and everything. But I think that something that impacted me the most is the community that we built, is the people that I met, is the words that I learned. Actually, we always used all kinds of words when we communicated, like Pakistani words, Serbian words, Arabic, everything. And it was just like, you wouldn't understand how internationally mindful you get just by spending time with international people. And then once you get back to your home country, understand how valuable that time was and how different it was because you took it for granted. But I think that my friends, my peers at DKU have built the person that I am. More importantly, they motivated me and they pushed me in a right direction in understanding what I want and what I need and what I want to study. And I feel like that mutual, it was never competition as much as it was just encouragement to succeed, to understand yourself better, is something that I realized that I have that other Serbian students that studied in the US or anywhere else in the world don't have, because as Honey mentioned, it's such a small community. Most of the people just have three friends maximum that I know of. But now when I'm outside of DKU community, I talk to everyone. It's like I don't know, we called, fun fact, we called for every birthday during the COVID era of our studies. And all of my friends, my Serbian friends, thought it was weird. They asked me once when it was my birthday, and they asked me, what, you guys call for every birthday? What is happening? And yeah, we did. And that kind of stops now because everyone is in their own different parts of their lives. But yeah, I feel like DKU's strength is the community that DKU builds because of everything that happens, because you are international students in China or you just travel to the US. And I have to brag a bit, but 5 of my international friends came and saw Belgrade, which I think it's beautiful that people would travel across the ocean just to see the place where I grew up in. And yeah, it's a beautiful experience.
You guys are going to be able to live the book, Never Eat Alone. Have you heard this book? Which means no matter where you go, you're always going to have somebody to grab a meal with. That's a really great thing about being a member of an international community, for sure. Zarfashar, how about you?
You know, I think the community is really so good. I don't know how the people that are listening are gonna take it. Like, I know we're talking so much about it, but it's really so true. You know, we become like an average of the people that we surround ourselves with. And I didn't realize this during college, but now that I look back, I really, you know, little habits like cooking. I learned that from all the Italians and French. When they would talk about food, there was just so much pure passion. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know you could like talk about a sandwich like that or like talk about pasta like that. And then I was like, and then I put effort into learning and I was like, this is such like it changed my perspective on things. And then professionally as well, you know, I help my friends you know, just push through their limits, and like I was like, no, you should go for roads, you should go for sportsmen. And then they actually ended up being in those places, and they did the same for me. I had startups with my friends, and you know, that if you're basically married to people when you're running a company, and you know, to live, people see the worst of you, you do all kinds of crazy things, um, and just general support from your peers is completely unmatched. And there is no other place in the world where you are going to be able to like sit on a table with like people who come from 5 different continents, and then you all come together and you talk about things, and it's just a completely different experience, and it is so valuable to your development as a person, because you're going to go, and even if you never leave your country, there's people that are coming from all kinds of mindsets, and you need to learn how to understand them, how to look at things from their perspective. And DKU teaches you that in a very, very lovely way. And you know, the thing about grabbing a meal is so true, because right now we're planning like reunions internationally. We're like, okay, this month all of us are going to be, you know, close to London, so let's go and try to meet everyone there. So it's very wholesome.
So very lovely. And I have to go straight to Francesco because I'm envisioning you now talking very passionately about a sandwich, but I'm not going to put you on the spot to talk about a sandwich. But how about you? Any additional thoughts you wanted to share related to this?
I think they said it all, but you know, this is just a family. Like at the end of the day, like this is not a community, this is a family. Like we all know each other. We have taken classes together. We spent like great memories that will forever like remain in our mind and heart for, you know, the rest of our lives. And so like I can see you, Russell, like nodding there with a big smile because, you know, we made it. because that was the mission at the beginning of our program. And yeah, you will be like some very valuable friendship here, and you can rely on them for many years down the line. So I don't think there's anything I can add to that discussion.
Oh, I think you just did. Jonathan, any final words on this?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to kind of echo what everyone's been saying. I can proudly say I was one of those 5 friends to visit Uroš in Belgrade. I call him brate all the time. That's Serbian for brother. He's my brother. I went to Rome. I saw Francesco. I've been to Malaysia to spend Chinese New Year's with my friends in Malaysia. I traveled all over China, and it is all due to the DKU community, all the friendships I've made. Obviously, we've supported each other academically, and we've all worked together. But again, it just goes back to being family. Like, this is my family for life.
Very well said, all of you, and I certainly feel it, and I hope the rest of you out there feel this as well. So getting back a little bit to now career and what you're thinking longer term. So can you share kind of what your plans are longer term? You know, either postgraduate school, we've got a couple of you in school, but also, you know, those of you who have already kind of started into industry. So honey, I'm going to start with you again. You're on that screen. So yeah, just kind of briefly, what are your longer term plans, or what do you envision how do you envision your career at least playing out at this point in your life?
So currently I'm in a 2-year master's program. And so I have kind of another year to this program. But I've been thinking about want to do post-grad, and I'm very much interested in, like I said, transculturalism. And in between that, I really want to do work that's focused on cultural preservation. And so along that line, I'm thinking of either pursuing a master in fine arts, in particular documentary studies, after Yencheng, or working in NGOs or UNESCO that does like a lot of hands-on work with cultural preservation. Yeah, and I think I do want to do like more documentary visual art in that regard, because I know cultural preservation is also quite a big field. And I'm really excited in that regard. Currently, I'm trying to reach out to professors to kind of get started on research, just to kind of building up on that foundation so that when I graduate, I have things I can work on. But yeah, that's kind of what I am hoping to pursue after graduation.
Thank you. Jonathan?
Yeah, so as I've mentioned many times in this call, I'm currently a grad student at the Fuqua School of Business, and I'm kind of trying to do what Francesco is doing. Actually, I'm trying to go into consulting a bit, looking at firms like PwC. Yeah, even though I was a government major, a public policy major, I decided to transition a bit and study business. I've just been really enjoying that, and I just see so much value in consulting and being able to explore different industries. And a lot of my peers here, it's really like inspiring to hear what their passions are and what they like specifically want to do. But I'm a little different. There's not really any specific field that I'm extremely passionate about or want to go into. I feel like consulting is just the perfect way to explore as much as possible and just continue to learn and grow.
Yep. Uroš?
I really became passionate about health economics this year, as I'm in that field, and I want to study that in masters. I'm planning to go to masters next year, probably in Europe, and I want to focus completely just on health economics. Afterwards, I'm going to be choosing between working in NGOs or I'm going to be working for a hospital. I might go and focus on healthcare management, and I might go and be a manager of a hospital. So we'll see. I'm still not sure, but I know next year I'm going to be focusing on health economics, and hopefully in 2 years, we'll see what happens. Where am I going to take that?
Right. Continuing to explore. Francesco?
Yeah, so as I said before, I do M&A, which is basically I help companies acquiring other companies and selling part of the companies, or just the whole company. So in the short term, I'm just trying to survive the long hours because we just worked a lot. And if you really want to go down that path, you need to be ready for that. But in the long term, I don't see myself doing this job for 20, 30 years. I would like to go on the investor side. So trying to help companies with capital to grow and expand to other markets eventually. So that's my long-term goal. And yeah, so if you have any questions on how did I get this job and what are the pros and cons, because there's a lot of pros and also a lot of cons, just feel free to ask. And I'm happy to share my experience. Yes.
Consulting is definitely a young person's job. You got to have a lot of energy for that. Zarfishar?
I'm very certain I'm going to be in business. So I'm doing that right now, but I'm also certain I'm going to be in multiple things. So right now I'm working in healthcare and more towards the equipment side, and I've been able to scale that up pretty decently on a national level. And then the next step is making it international and serving the needs of low-income countries to medium-income countries, which because there's like a huge need there for like better equipment medically, and there's also demand, and so you should just solve the problem for the people. And then my other job is in fintech, so I am currently like Pakistan has a really bad fintech scene, so we're trying to bring it up to par with the rest of the world because of like our huge population. So I'm working in that field with an Egyptian company, and in the long run, I know I'm going to be in business, but I really hope I'm able to be globally like free to move, because I don't think I'll be very happy if I have to live in one place for the rest of my life. I have to see these wonderful people. So that's really, the career has to go around that.
Yeah, traveling is nice because you do get to run into all your old friends along the way, for sure. All right, last question. This is a nice, short, easy one. For our audience tonight, just maybe each of you can share a brief tip, right? Given where they are right now, it can be a tactical tip. It can be, from your own experience. What advice do you have for these, folks who are, getting ready to start their college journeys? Any advice? Again, tactical, how to make a transition, how to make the most, just anything is fair game. Udos?
I think that everyone can agree with, at least from our batch, is that if you want to do something, do it now. Because we all wanted to travel China, we wanted to travel around or anything. And then COVID happened and we couldn't do anything. So we had huge plans about traveling to Vietnam, to Thailand, to northern China, southern China. COVID happened, no one did basically anything. So I feel like that's a really good advice with applying to colleges, applying to jobs, applying to anywhere, or whatever you do. You just got to do it now, and you can't wait. It's not going to wait for you. And if you want to apply for the research project, apply for it. If you're not sure how you're going to manage it, if Francesco can work 15 hours a day, you can probably also work. But yeah, just that's going to be amazing. And just use your time wisely, meet new people, meet new cultures, try amazing food, and yeah, use DKU to its maximum.
Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts they want to share? Any final words?
Maybe I can hop on. My kind of tip or advice would be, do not hesitate to reach out. I know some people, some of us, you hesitate in reaching out because you're scared, but I would say go all out, because the worst case scenario is you get a no, but that is not the end of the world. I keep saying that failure is just redirection. So even if it doesn't work on one end, it will work out the other way. And I always think it works out for the best for all of us. So just do not hesitate, because like Uro said, if you want a research opportunity, go for it. If you want to work somewhere, go for it. There is nothing that should stop you, because you guys are also young. There's so much more that the world is offering. And so take advantage of it, because there's so much more that you can actually get if you are willing to step out of your comfort zone.
I love that advice, honey. Working in international education as long as I have, You know, I always say the one trait that I always see is such a great predictor of success is to be fearless, right? To not be afraid to ask for help, to not be afraid to try new things, and just seize it. I love it. It's really in theme and with what you guys are all talking about. Anybody else want to share some final thoughts before we open it up for a short Q&A?
I think Zarfishar is always very motivational. So he should be the one.
I think I have too many like business analogies, but I'm just gonna use it. Like DKU is hard, but it's like a startup. So you should understand that and then learn how to use that to your advantage. There might not be something you want to do, it might not be there, but that's like a great thing. I think people forget that you can just create it and you can bring other people along with you in it. It's like this place which is going to allow you to make your own world, and then you can invite other people into your own world, and that's how the journey becomes really, really beautiful. And you're gonna cry and it's gonna be crazy, and there may or may not be moments when you're traveling when you have near death experiences, but those are all like amazing and invaluable. So I think what Honey said is really, really good. Just do it and ask for help when you need it.
Great. All right. Are we going to let Zarfishar have that final word?
Sounds good to me.
They were all great, all great advice. So we do have a couple questions I've seen already. Did anybody happen to take advantage of the host family program in this group? Honey, I see you shaking your head. Jonathan, Honey?
Yeah, so I applied for host family in my first year, and I was matched with a Taiwanese family actually who was based in Kunshan. And so mostly what we did was I would go visit them, I think once or twice a month, depending on my schedule. But it was a really nice opportunity to interact with like the local community and also really be integrated into like a family's kind of situation, which is really nice because like, you could celebrate different occasions together. They would take you out to like travel around local areas and like really help you kind of find a place in Kunshan. And they're also very accommodating. For example, like I had to store some things over break somewhere, but I wasn't sure. And my host family very nicely like took in all my things and stored it for the summer. And when I came back, they actually drove all the way to campus to drop it off. So I definitely do think it's a really nice program that international students, if you want to like, do take advantage of that.
Anyone else want to talk about their experience?
Yeah, I definitely think you should take advantage of the host family. I personally didn't have a host family with DKU, but one of my close friends did, and he actually invited me to dinners all the time with the host family in Kunshan. And it just goes to show you, like, even if you do miss the opportunity to get a host family, you most definitely will have a friend who belongs to a host family, and they're more than willing to open their doors to any DKU student. Like, we have such a great relationship with just the people around China. And yeah, definitely should take advantage of. Don't take it for granted.
Viros, did I see you pop your hand up real quick?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if we have time to answer all the questions. But I feel like I had a host family, and I went to a rural part of Kunshan next to the lake, ate crabs, and met the whole family. And I actually saw how the rural parts of China live. And I think that was one of the most impactful experiences I had while staying in China.
Cool. So I'm gonna cherry pick a couple questions here. So is there a particular skill that you want to highlight? Anyone wants to highlight? What skill or knowledge did you learn through your DKU experience that you have found most useful in your current situation? Give you a moment to think about that.
For me, I would say it's working in an international community. Obviously, like we've talked about the friendships and everything. But at the beginning, it could definitely be difficult working with people from around the world just because there's that language barrier and different cultural ideas. But after going through DKU for 4 years, it's just become second nature for all of us. And now at grad school, my team consists of someone from Ireland, someone from Pakistan, someone from India, and someone from China. And while I might not be like the smartest in my group or lead every project, I would definitely describe myself as the glue that like keeps our group together. And just my ability to communicate with all my teammates, it definitely give credit to DKU and the community I belong to.
That's a great answer. Yeah. Anybody else want to share? Yep, Udosh.
Don't be afraid of change. I feel like change is always positive, and we have experienced change so many times, especially because our stay in China was cut short, and you get addicted to it pretty fast. So you're just gonna always want to change your life. As Afishar said, she wants to live everywhere in the world. You know, she never wants to live at one spot, and that's the change that you're just gonna start loving if you start an international education.
Thank you. Zarfashar, you're up.
You know, this is like a really common one, but there's so much cool things happening. We forget that we all learned this. So learning how to read, speak, and write Mandarin is really, really helpful. But other than that, it's resilience. Like, you know, a 7-week course is going to teach you so much about life and agility and, you know, adapting to change super fast, and then deadlines and whatnot. And you probably don't even know until you enter the workforce or your life. So, and you know, particularly our experience with COVID and all these interruptions, and then all like demanding projects like signature work. So much resilience that DKU taught us through all the different projects that it made us go through.
Thank you, Honey.
I think the biggest skill would be time management. Like Zarfashar said, we have like a 7-week curriculum. And then on top of that, all of us are doing different extracurriculars, including research or like activities and events. And some of us even do like, what is it called, our internships and all. So I think time management is definitely something we all have picked up, I guess, first weekend at DKU. And it's very valuable because it gets better. Like you really get to develop this time management skill in the 4 years. And it's like even more so valuable because after graduation, you really learn how effective it is when it comes to like post-grad life, be it working somewhere or like in grad school and all of that, because you really know how to manage your time and set your priorities right. So I think it's something that I'm sure we all find very valuable that we got out of from DKU.
All right, so we're going to wrap this up with one more question so we can give all of our alumni back the rest of their time. I really appreciate you spending the hour you have. Quickly, I did see a question. Yes, we are recording this, and yes, this link will be added to our events page sometime this week. So you'll be able to go back if you choose. So the last question, let's see. So how hard was it to transition to China? Yeah, it was a long time ago, over 4 years now. But we're going to end on that one, you know, and maybe weave into that. Did you need to know Chinese right out of the gate? and how did your Chinese progress, especially early on? So anybody want to talk about just making that transition to China? I know that's a big question that a lot of prospective and admitted students will have. What is it like?
I'll go first on this one. So I knew zero Chinese, but DKU makes you go through like 3 days of training where they teach you how to order food, how to pay, how to bargain, and and how to like tell a cab driver where to drop you off if you get lost. And then like again, coming back to the community, the people are so nice. It's like you just realize if you're trying to read the road signs that you're in a different country. Otherwise, like the transition, it doesn't hit like until 6 weeks later, and then you're in finals week, and then you miss like your mom's homemade food. That's when it hit me really. But the community is so good, and then the way the DKU handles all that stuff is also really good. And if you don't know Mandarin, that's completely fine. There's all kinds of levels you can enter into, and at least by the time you graduate, you're going to be able to make your way around the country pretty smoothly. So you're good on that end.
Awesome. Anybody else want to share their transition? Honey, I see you nodding a little bit, and then Ludos.
I think my experience would be very much different from other people because, like I said, I have background in China, and so growing up every summer I would come back to China to visit. But I have to say, I've never really been to Shanghai Kunshan before DKU. So it was a bit of adjusting to the weather actually for me, because Islamabad, where I'm from, is quite dry, but it is quite humid in Kunshan. And so that was a bit of an adjustment for me. And in terms of Chinese, I grew up speaking Chinese, so that wasn't much of like a challenge for me. But like Zarfashar said, like those who can speak Chinese are very much willing to help those who cannot. And I think that's also one of the very quick ways to make friends, because you know, you find people that you can help with, and then you naturally start talking about different things, and then you realize we have so much like common ground, and then like that's how you kind of really bond with people. So I definitely do think that in terms of transition, there's a lot of support you can get from not just your peers, but also staff and faculty.
Great. And Rose, did you have something you wanted to share?
Just set up your WeChat account as soon as possible.
Get your WeChat, because everything's through WeChat.
My roommate and I didn't set up our WeChat account for, I think, 2 weeks. We starved. We had to find Chinese students to help us order food, and we paid everything in cash, and everyone looked at us weirdly. So yeah, set up your WeChat account.
All right. On that note, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you sincerely and so much to all of you alumni friends. It's just great to see you. And thank you so much for joining the panel tonight, today, this morning, depending on where you are. And thank you to all of you who joined us for the session. I hope you got a feel for the DKU community, because that's what it's really about. You know, you're out there exploring different universities, as you should. And we talk about this word called fit, you know, and just where does it kind of feel right. You know, you got a lot of boxes, you have a lot of boxes you need to check, but ultimately you're going to have, you know, multiple locations. There's a lot of schools where you can have a great experience, but you're trying to find the one that just feels right, where these are the people you want to be surrounded by. So hopefully you got a good feel for DKU tonight. Continue to explore. We have our DKU YouTube channel, which I think is a great way to continue to get that feel. And we have more sessions. So if you're working on your application, I'm still doing director's application advice sessions. I've got 3 more before regular decision deadline, where I'll talk about our application, what we look for, and what are those qualities and why, and talk about the why DKU essay. So come join us for one of those sessions. But just thank you so much. Wishing you all the best of luck as you continue to navigate this college application process. And so on that note, I'm going to say goodbye and have a wonderful evening, a rest of the day, and bye to my friends.
I thank you guys for everything.
Bye-bye.